Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. So welcome to the VFR World Tour for the TBM 850. So we're sitting here in Buffalo, which was the last place we were at. We're getting ready to take off. Gone ahead, we're going to be taking off from runway 14. Let's see, I should be able to actually go ahead and clean that up now. So we're just kind of going to head out. So we're going to load that departure. It's going to give us a little bit of distance there. And then, again, we're not going to be at 5,500 feet. I'm going to stay low so that we get some good views on the flight as we go along. So let's see. We're going to do nav. We've got the flight director on. Should be all set. But I'm here ready to taxi out. So this trip, 416 nautical miles from Buffalo near Niagara International, and we're heading to Martha's Vineyard, which I believe is in Massachusetts, but I don't recall now. But it's east of here. So as I said, 416 nautical miles, and on this tour we're following the wonderful, we'll call it narration, that the creator of this route, or around the world, made. It's a meandering route, goes by a lot of waypoints. It's really made to be a sightseeing journey, which is why I thought this would be a wonderful thing to attempt to do, but it has a lot of legs. I think 200 plus 234 somehow sticks in my head. Doesn't ultimately matter, but this is the third leg, so we'll see how things go. They said they basically targeted 2-3 hours per leg. So again, if you're watching this video as the first one in the series, just be aware they take some time. The TBM 850's got a little bit of giddy up and go to it, but it's still general aviation aircraft is how this tour is designed, and that's what I'm taking advantage of with it. But let's go ahead and disengage the brake and get moving. So again, this TBM 850 has a bit of a thing where the first 15% of the throttle is I think made for what they call beta. So it takes a little bit of effort to get it moving because of that, but after that it goes pretty quickly. So I think I need to go up this way. I'm waiting for my maps to catch up. Apologize, I'm out of here. We're not getting any real sound, but we're back in. So add a little more throttle because now I've slowed it down too much. But yeah, a really nice model. So this is the black square TBM 850. One of the things that I liked with this, never tried this, but it's basically aircraft that maintain state on certain things, mainly the systems and the wear and tear and so forth. So I'm thinking over time, it's going to be interesting to see if we've got to do and what kind of repairs we need to do. So off camera, I do tend to do a startup, tend to test the systems, see where things are at, go from there. But getting ourselves out here, so we're almost at the runway. Pretty small airport. I'm imagining Martha's Vineyard is going to be pretty small too, because it's meant to be VFR, even though I'm using instruments to find things and so forth. We don't use air traffic, don't use things like that. It's just really a flying series and more for the visuals than anything else. So get ourselves kind of lined up here. And then we will engage the parking brake again. I'll back off on the throttle. Is that fully off? It looks like it's fully off. Elevation of the airport, 727 feet. So not too high. Obviously, as we go to different parts of the world, we may have to obviously fly higher than we are here, but we're in pretty good shape with that. So we're going to go ahead, and what I tend to do is give the information as we go. So the first leg to the first waypoint, 250 nautical miles, as you can see. So we've got a bit of a ways to go. So we're going to go ahead and get the map on here. And we're going to kind of head things out. So we're kind of going on the departure out, and then we'll join up there is how we'll have the plane head on out and go forward. But basically, explanation he's got: off to Manhattan. Our path will take us over parts of New York and Pennsylvania before crossing over Newark, New Jersey, on the way to a waypoint just east of the Statue of Liberty and west of Governor's Island. Alright, so let's get flaps set to take off. Everything else, I think, should be pretty good. Alright, so let's get going. Shouldn't take much to get ourselves airborne here. It's a pretty perky aircraft, moves along pretty well. 40, so our airspeed's finally going up. Alright, 80. Should be able to begin to take off here. There we go. Don't know why it's taken that much effort to lift off, but it is. So we're going to back off a little bit so that we're not going crazy. We'll get the yaw damper, and we'll get autopilot on, and hopefully then we should be good. We've got nav. We want this to go up. Alright, I always struggle a bit with the that's right, I have to do that, and that will give us the vertical speed, and that will get us then to the appropriate space. Alright, so props a little fast, so we're gonna slow things down a tiny bit, maybe back this off a little while so we're not on the red line, but passing through 1,000 feet here. And then we should be okay. Let me get the gear up, that will help. Alright, and I was looking for the flight timer. So we have that. The aircraft's equipped with a sensor that kind of tells when the wheels take off, and then we're able to tell where we're going. So no idea how long it's really going to take for for the miles we've got. At this point, we'll pull up the flaps as well, and we'll be good. So airport still visible, kind of at the horizon there. That's where we took off. So I think it's not too bad on the outside of the plane. I know it's visible a lot more. Sometimes I'll just kind of on these because they're long. We'll go silent, we'll mute my microphone, and we'll just kind of give you a view out the window. You know, we'll kind of set it that way where I can see the lights in case something starts to go wrong. But, alright, so we're within 1,000 feet. That was that sound there. And then, you know, we should be okay. And it should lock in at 3,500. But, you know, if I go kind of there, you know, and really it's more if I can see the message buttons, that'll tell me if I need to know something. But yeah, so obviously first waypoint, we're headed, as we said, toward Manhattan, heading over parts of New York. Obviously we're taking off. New York is in Buffalo, or let me say that again. Buffalo is in New York. So we are over New York State now, and then we'll be going into Pennsylvania and ultimately New Jersey on our way to New York City, which obviously brings us back into New York State. So then they continue to talk about, from here, we'll turn northeast and torture your GPU while we make our way over central Manhattan. Lots to see here, so feel free to disengage the autopilot and wander around a bit, or pause the flight and use the drone camera to do your wandering. Usually I don't do that on the flights. We'll just kind of enjoy what we can see. I'm not that familiar with New York City, not that terribly enthralled with New York City as well, so you know, happy to just fly along and get where we need to and enjoy what we can see, and we'll go there. So now he didn't really specifically call out things. There's 6 waypoints, but you know, we're going through. I know the last thing we're going to go to is Block Island, and then, you know, we kind of head out over and finish up on the way to Martha's Vineyard with a leg that I don't think is too terribly long after that. Again, I mean, after all, we are going 250 nautical miles here. You know, the important thing is we have an airspeed of about 200 now, so you know, we're moving along. Ground speed's 230 knots, so kind of flat here. Nothing too exciting in this area of the country. Gets a lot of snow up here, I do know that, so it's kind of the snow belt is what it's called, and one of the heavier snow areas in the U.S. is Buffalo, New York. They were on the news decades ago all the time. I mean, they're still on the news now sometimes, but it's just cold, and you know, we're leaving the Great Lakes behind here, but we are still staying in the U.S., so I am very intrigued with this tour of like where it's going to take us and what we're going to see. I'd encourage you, if you're interested and haven't started, to go back to the first episode. That's where I go through, read and share with the creator of this tour what their mindset is, what they're interested in. So I remember, you know, they like a lot of World War II history and so forth, so there's definitely some focus on that where it makes sense. But obviously any tour that's created is always going to have some impact from the creator on it of what their biases were. First and foremost, it sounds like this gentleman created this tour out of interest for themselves, to give themselves something to fly, and then thought, hey, what I've come up with here is pretty interesting, So I'm going to share it with the community. It's the only contribution they've made to Flight Sim IO or TO, whatever it is. So this was kind of their grand opus, I guess, if you were to be talking in musical terms. Alright, let me see if I can see a little more clearly the borders on other maps. I don't know that I can, because I'm not sure if we've already left New York State. I'm a little less sure of that, and yeah, this doesn't clearly give me indications that I can see. Oh no, it does. Alright, so I zoomed out quite a ways. Now I can see things a little more clearly. We're going to be in New York for quite some time, honestly. So, again, let me click back here and provide focus there. Otherwise, you just have no sound at all. And obviously, that's probably less interesting. Really, the error lights are here. So, I guess I can go ahead here and give you a little more view with a window. We're going to go ahead and do that because, you know, toward the tail end there will be more to share out of the narrative. But for right now, we've got ourselves probably still a couple 100 miles at least on this leg. Actually 219, so you can see it there. So if you're using reference in the video or something and are like, alright, I just want to go to the parts where you're doing something, you can do that. Obviously, I have the chapter pieces in there as well. I think this one's just going to be a little bit more tricky because it does seem like the waypoints are pretty close together. But as we start getting near New York, I will come back, we'll start chatting, and I'll just keep sharing with what I think I'm seeing in real time. It's kind of how this series goes, and we'll explore together and see where this thing takes us and what we're doing. So enjoy, and I'll be back in a bit. And do apologize, wanted to quickly pop in. I've got to get into the habit on these of showing you where we're going to begin with. So, you know, this is active Navigraph. So we've taken off from Buffalo. You can see kind of where we're at this point. Here are the waypoints, so you can see, you know, waypoints 1, 2, 3, 4 very quickly. We've got a little bit of space, you know, about 100 nautical miles between waypoint 4 and waypoint 6, and then we had our way into Martha's Vineyard. Alright, 15 nautical miles. And we are heading straight over New York here. A little over an hour. So, not too bad. But basically, again, we're heading toward the Statue of Liberty, and then we'll be going over central Manhattan. And so, I'm not sure what the GPU, I'm wondering if they meant GPS when he wrote GPU, because GPU I know of as ground power unit, but I don't think that's what they're talking about. So we've had a couple instances. I was kind of trying to monitor where we were at. Definitely had some height issues. We probably want to stay zoomed in a little bit. You know, we got within 1,500 feet, so we've got Newark Airport coming up, probably right over there. So that's one I flew into quite often. So we're still like on the Jersey side here, but gonna be going in over here, and I'm thinking maybe the statue is there. I'm not sure. We'll see where we go. But yeah, that's Newark. Whoops, wrong direction. It's Newark Airport. Newark Liberty. Kilo Echo Whiskey Romeo, if you're ever flying into there. And now we're heading over to some of the various rivers. So yeah, I guess I never noticed, like, the bridges are obviously not open underneath, but again, the imaging here is visual from the sky and satellite imagery. It's not made to really be, hey, vehicles are moving or whatever, so. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the Statue of Liberty there. You can get a pretty good look at it. Look like we got some traffic, and then we've got the new Freedom Tower, I think is what it's called. We should be okay at 3,500 feet, I hope. Otherwise, that could be dangerous, but hopefully, yeah, we might be close if we somehow fly over that building, but I'm not quite sure that we will, so 3,500 feet should be decent. But there's the Statue of Liberty, and I think that would be Ellis Island there. I think this is just a garbage dump and so forth. So we're going to be heading over soon. But here we go. We're going to turn. And just head up over Manhattan. So let's enjoy New York. System tends to stutter a bit as I come into some of the airports around here, so we will see how this all plays out, but pretty cool flying over anything. But yeah, it looks like we are going to cross over the tower, but we got plenty of clearance, so we're good. Again, do we have the 1,000 feet or whatever that we really should be? I don't know. Maybe not, but so it's the Brooklyn Bridge down there. You can tell by the iconic supports. So taking you over there. And going up this way. And then Central Park is right in front of us. So the next data point, a couple miles north of Central Park, we'll run into the Harlem River, where we'll turn east and cut across north of LaGuardia to Throngs Neck Bridge, which connects Long Island to the Bronx and is where the East River flows into Long Island Sound. So again, a couple miles north of Central Park. So, big park, as you can tell. Good size. Never been there myself, but it's featured in a lot of movies about New York and stuff like that, so but there you go. You get a decent view, but yeah, we can't scroll around much. I'm assuming those are baseball fields or something. Yep, proper shape at least, so we're going to assume that. So, and then LaGuardia, we're going to be north of LaGuardia, so that's LaGuardia there. So kind of a famous landing both here and there. Those are the runways. If you ever watched me do Tower Simulator, you've seen me play around with that stuff and that location there. But again, Throng's Neck Bridge, so I'm thinking it'll be that one, but I'm not sure. We'll see where we cross over. Maybe it'll be that one. But connects Long Island to the Bronx, and the East River flows into Long Island Sound. So again, good view of LaGuardia there, but lots of not sure if we can see any traffic. It looks like there might be a plane taxiing down there. Do have FSLTL running because I knew we'd be going into some busy airspace and stuff, so I figured might be fun to see some things happening. Actually, it looks like maybe someone landed. They're on the runway and now they're vacating. So, kind of in the area here, we got to be careful. We might have some planes coming in to land, crossing right across the flight path there. Alright, so there, from here we're going to turn slightly north along the coast to avoid the massive traffic around JFK to the south to the next waypoint at Oyster Bay, which is once home to Teddy Roosevelt before he became the 26th President of the United States. So, not quite there yet, but okay, so I assume this is Throng's Neck Bridge there, and now we're turning, and we're going to have about 13 nautical miles to get to Oyster Bay, and again, JFK is on the other side of the land, kind of really in near the bay there, or that inlet that goes in. So JFK is right on the shore somewhere. I'm trying to pinpoint it by looking at maps, but I would say there. But definitely some large airports relatively close together. Always a challenging airspace, I'm sure, is New York. Alright, so let's hop back into the cockpit here for a little while. So yeah, we've still got 9 miles to go. But yeah, only 8 minutes of flying over New York to go through all that, so that's not too bad. But yeah, north of us here, right across, like basically halfway across the, whatever bay that is, or so forth, that's Connecticut that we're looking at on the far shore. So, well, we're probably still looking at New York. A little bit of Connecticut sticks out in a little while. We're not quite there. I think we have to kind of cross. So, like, over here, that'll be Connecticut. But, like, over here, I think it's still New York State. If I'm looking at the borders and so forth, it looks like New Rochelle. That's behind us a little bit, but so we're not looking at that for sure. But I'm sure around 1900 or the 1800s, you know, when Teddy Roosevelt would have been around, living around this area, probably didn't look anything like it does now. Probably a lot more sparsely populated, probably a lot fewer buildings, but down to less than 5 miles. So, thinking, not sure where the bay will be, but let's see, 3 miles. So, might be right there. Might be the first thing we hit. So maybe he was kind of living in this space here. But it's on a big giant island, so, you know, this is a big island. There's the other side. So, I think this is Long Island. So, hence, you know, why it's called that, because it's long. But there we go. So we're starting to turn. So yeah, this would be Oyster Bay in this space. And then a slight turn will take you to waypoint 5, the town of Riverhead, at the mouth of the Peconic River. Don't know why that's important to know, but that's where they're taking us. So 39 nautical miles to get there, so we're going to be here for a bit, moving along. But yeah, what I was sharing that might have been a little more challenging to hear before was, yeah, I was certainly keeping an eye on things, so as you watch these episodes in the future, you know, distances here to our next waypoint, but radar altitude, RA, once we start getting 2,500 feet or less above the ground, that starts to light up and you don't have dashes anymore. So we got down to little under 1,500 feet at one point, which meant that obviously the ground under us had risen to over 2,000 feet above sea level at that point, compared to the 727 that we took off from. So I'm going to take a quick look here. And let's see. So Martha's Vineyard, 67 feet above sea level. So we will, you know, be down pretty much at sea level, and you know, we'll be heading out that way. Not sure what happened to my Navigraph there, but it ran away from me a little bit. But yeah, so, you know, coming down from 3,500 all the way down to that's just going to require making sure I'm paying attention when I get nearby. We still probably have 150 miles of our 416 to go, so probably a good distance. But, you know, again, we're an hour and 15 minutes in. Might be less than 2 hours for this flight, I would fathom. You know, we've already gone almost, not quite 10 miles since we left Oyster Bay. But, you know, just pretty flying. I hope you enjoyed, you know, the bit when we were just traversing across to the other locations. I do need to remember to put my landing gear down. I've only done that half the time in this series, so let's try not to do that again. That was really embarrassing in my first flight, but I'd never used this plane before, so I was so challenged in trying to make sure that I could fly it appropriately and so forth that kind of lost track of things. So not not what you'd want to do normally. But down to 30 nautical miles, and basically it's at it's not the end of the island per se, because the island seems to have a couple little things that go out. I'd say, you know, if you know what an earwig is, it's kind of almost like that's what we're headed toward. There's going to be like 2 pincers of the island that stick out. Not quite exactly that, but we're basically kind of going to the start of those pincers, and that's where this next waypoint is, the town of Riverhead at the mouth of the Peconic River. I'm sure the Peconic River is important to people who know New York or something. I don't know. Now, absolutely, all the land across the water is Connecticut. that's probably all we're going to see of Connecticut. We're not suddenly coming back. I think our next leg is going to continue to take us a little bit more east when we're flying next time. But we'll worry about next time. Beyond that, I just do remember, taking a peek at that a little bit. So I can't say, I've talked about in some of the earlier episodes where just kind of the ways we went, it's areas of the country I'm a little more familiar with. I've either lived in them or traveled in them a good amount. We're kind of leaving that now. I've been to New York City a couple times just on business, so I think I've honestly spent less than a day there. It was pretty common for me to come in for an hour-long meeting and then leave. So, I have not spent any time there, and I don't feel I'm missing anything. So, sorry to the New Yorkers if anybody's watching it, but it's just not my thing. I was born and raised in Chicago, so that rivalry's pretty ingrained within me. And, the little bit I saw of it kind of just, enforces stereotypes. I think it's a dirtier city than Chicago, as far as just there's trash everywhere that I've seen as I've driven around, whatever, sitting in gutters and alleyways. And then, and I get there's a lot of people, but there's a lot of people in other cities, and you can do things. Maybe it's because you're on an island. You can't get rid of things fast enough because you just got bridges and whatever, as opposed to being in the middle of a ton of land. But whatever, we'll leave it at that before I offend all kinds of people. And but yeah, we're kind of gonna head over. You can kind of start to see, I think basically where the waypoint's gonna be, like there. I think that's the water that comes in. So there's kind of one piece that goes out there, and there's another that goes there that has kind of a bulge about halfway that actually almost honestly connects through. We're going to stay a little closer to the southern pincer, if we want to call it that, as we fly out following the path. And that next leg is 51 nautical miles, and that will take us to the final waypoint. So we've got a few more sentences more of information that they've given us on this tour. And, probably half a page of info, so certainly not the most we've had on any of the legs, but it's our third leg. We haven't gotten very far. But the exciting part for me is, I'll definitely be getting to areas now that I'm much, much less familiar with, so I will be seeing these places for the first time along with you if you're not familiar with them. So, but even these places are like that. I've been to New York City, and I've landed in LaGuardia to go to New York City. So obviously I've landed in LaGuardia, across the river, gone into Manhattan. Park Avenue, I think, was where I had the meeting. So, iconic name and street in New York City. And then I went back to LaGuardia and left. And that was all right. I think I did stay there because I don't know that I stayed. I don't think I stayed overnight. I think I flew in and, I ended up going to lunch with one of the people I had the meeting with after the meeting, or maybe it was dinner, and then I flew out that evening and headed home, because that way we didn't have to spend money for the company on a hotel or anything, and just kept expenses down. Alright, so let's pop out of the plane. Oh, I didn't realize we had an airport. I have no idea what airport this is. We're kind of flying over it. I can see some information, but it's smaller. There's a bigger airport down there somewhere that's a little bit behind us, kind of probably here, which is Kilo Hotel Whiskey Victor. No idea what that is, but if you're curious and want to look it up, now you have the info of what we've got. But yeah, so I'm assuming this is the Peconic River, and we're heading kind of right there. And you really can't get a great view of everything else yet. Like, I think this pincer goes a good... by the time we pass the last part of the southern piece, I'd say we're going to be probably 30 nautical miles from Riverhead. So it's not short, not nothing. That's for sure. You know, it looks like there's built-up areas. They're yellow on my Navigraph maps, which mean they're kind of populated up both of the arms of the island. So definitely people have spent some time developing this out. A lot of green over here, so don't know if it's a national forest that they're keeping or what that, or some natural habitat. No idea. But let's take a quick peek. So 1.7 miles. Blinking message light, was it simply, I think, telling us that we're coming to the next waypoint and heading over. Right, so there you go. We're at Riverhead. If you wanted to know where Riverhead, New York is, now you know. I would also be very intrigued if you really had that desire in your life and wanted to know where it came from. But anyway, we'll leave that there. So 51 nautical miles is our next leg here. And then it looks like a little bit short, but that's just getting us to a bit of an approach and so forth. So it's going to take a little bit longer. But all we've got here then is another slight turn. We'll take you over Block Island Sound to Block Island, a popular vacation spot off the coast of Rhode Island. So that is where we're going. So I guess we're shortly going to leave Connecticut, being on the north coast, and see a little bit of Rhode Island. Again, Rhode Island, Connecticut, those are states I've never actually even been to. So New England is one of the few areas I've pretty much, I think, been in every state in the contiguous U.S. Let's say from, honestly, probably from New York east, you know, south, east, like all of them. I think I've at least driven through them at some point in my life. But New England has been an area of the country I just have not visited. Not other than New York City, because I don't like it, or have some animosity toward it. There's just been nothing that's drawn me there. I've always gone to other areas. So, but in any event, you know, maybe one of these days I'll head out there. But yeah, we got a good ways to go. Basically, once we get to Block Island, probably just trying to eyeball it, 10 miles. So when we have about 10 miles left, I think we'll be crossing the point where, in theory, we've crossed the border. The borderline on the map honestly stops in the waterway, you know, and I'm sure to some degree it's because states technically probably don't really have jurisdiction. I mean, there's a United States line that shows up here on the map that is rounded in some cases, sticks out, so I'm sure to some degree there's some sort of international rule that you maintain your border 25 miles offshore or something. So I'm thinking because of Block Island or something, there's a little bit, because around Block Island, like, we're technically going to fly over some international waters here for 15 miles on the way to the start of the approach to Martha's Vineyard. So the Martha's Vineyard approach, the waypoint starts or exists just inside the U.S. border. But, you know, it kind of, the waters come up north a little bit. You know, I'll let you pull up a chart rather than dragging it over here and showing you, because frankly, I don't know how many people would really be interested. Again, if you are, and these are things like, yeah, go ahead, drag things over, show us things. you know, I'm happy to kind of make things a little sloppy and drag things from one monitor to the other, because I do try as much as possible to just, you know, let these videos be what they are. They're a lot more raw, a lot less editing than other things you may see on my channel, where I try to just focus on where I'm saying something or something's happening, rather than just give you a bunch of dead space. But given, again, that this is a VFR tour of the world, I figured those who want it can have every little bit of ground we fly over, and at least get to see some of that. So, you know, again, we're not, I wouldn't even say we're halfway past the pincers yet. So, the north part, so this sticks out. I'm trying to get my bearings. So yeah, this is kind of technically the end, and then this is really an island on its own. Everything else, I think, is connected, is a connected body. And then the end of this basically kind of aligns with where the big part of the south end kind of starts to stop. But then, you know, as you can see, it kind of goes out here a ways before it really ends, and that appears, for the most part, to be somewhat contiguous. There's a roadway. I mean, maybe there's a little bridge over one little piece at the end where there is maybe an island a little close. Hard to tell. But that's still all in the space of being near Connecticut, and obviously it's starting to fall off the horizon a little bit, because we are drifting a little further and further south of that border as we're flying. We're heading is 86 degrees, it tells me. So, you know, which you can see there, DTK 086. But yeah, headed over, and hopefully we'll be able to get there sometime soon. I am going to have to take a break from what I'm doing. I'm not going to be able to actually get there and land in time, I don't think. We'll see. It's going to be close, because I have a point where I do need to stop for a bit. Wasn't sure if I was going to get this flight in, and it looks like I may not, because again, we still have 25 nautical miles here. Then we're going to have 25 nautical miles to the start of the approach, and then we probably have another 25 nautical miles. You know, so we probably still have 75 miles of this journey to go, and I'm not going to cover that in 15 minutes when I'm going barely 215 knots. So, you know, ground speed is reported as what? I don't know that I can see that right now, but anyway, we're getting close to the ending point of the island there. But yeah, ground speed's just 231, so basically in half an hour I'd cover 115 miles. So it's gonna be close. I mean, I might get to the approach. Hopefully I remember to edit that mistake out. I just pulled up Steam there. So making myself a note so when I'm into the world of editing. But yeah, what I meant to do was to change my screen to Navigraph. That is a weird sound. I don't know if you can hear. Oh, I see. So it is doing, what is happening there? Like, why is the engine doing that? I don't understand. Is it the mixture, or what is happening to me? Alright. Yeah, I don't know what was going on, but it really went up pretty high. So I'm gonna back off the engine a little bit. You know, get the throttle down so that we're not pushing things quite as much. But I heard that sound happen at one point when we were cruising before, and that was partially, if you saw me look around and try to see, that was why. I was like, what is happening? I'm like, it's just a very weird sound. I did have some weird error on here at one point, but yeah, it seems to take that torque up above that red line of 120, which obviously we don't want to be doing. And again, if we're in 850 mode, oh, I guess I am in 850 mode. I didn't realize that I had gone to that. I didn't do it intentionally, but maybe when you put your flaps up, it just automatically does that. So, in theory, I'm okay being past this point, and that's what I was doing before. Alright, so that is Block Island that we're headed to. So now we're basically leaving the end of Long Island, and yeah, it does look like it's contiguous, because the part I was questioning was that, but there does appear to be a little bit of a sandbar, and there's a connection there. But, got a little bit of that there, and then once we do that, past Block Island, we are on our way to Martha's Vineyard. And so at that point, just, we'll wait till we get past Block Island. If I don't make it before I have to pause, I don't make it. But I think we'll be okay, because we're coming down to 12 miles. I still have 10 minutes. We're certainly going faster than a mile a minute. We're going faster than 60. So, but I may not even make it to the start of the approach. And we're going to be coming in on runway 6. If you're curious, that is just the approach I chose, because it's the shortest route, frankly. The only ILS approach is from the other side, on 2-4 coming in the other way, but again, we're VFR and I don't really need to use ILS. But at this point, we are now past the island for sure, so we're over open water, not that we weren't flying over water before. And there is an airport, as you might expect, on Block Island, Kilo, Bravo, India Delta, which is probably Bravo, Block Island something. Or maybe it's just Block Island, ID, first and last letter of island. Not sure. It is interesting that my alternate airport is, or my alternate way, I guess that's my holding pattern, so never mind. That's okay then. I'm like, it's basically out over open water, and I'm like, that's not my alternate airport. That's just, I think, where if we have a missed approach and we had to go hold, we'd head out there, and then they could route us back in if they needed to do that. All right. So, where are we at? Less than 5 miles away. Just take a quick peek. Not that I'm expecting Block Island to be that exciting, but, it's the last thing we're going to see before we get to Martha's Vineyard, so let's see it, right? I'm not that zoomed in on my view, but again, the island's not that big, so I think we're going to come close or over the airport. I'm thinking that's the runway there. We'll see how things pan out as we get closer, but it's basically right past the waypoint is where the symbol on the map is, and so I would think that's what it is. Yeah, that's pretty clearly a runway there. So, don't know how busy the island is, or just, vacationers or retired folks who are like, yep, I could just sit on the island and don't need to go anywhere. But at this point, that land up there is Rhode Island. So, you've now seen Rhode Island, if you've never, at least virtually. So if you've never done that, congratulations. All right, 24 nautical miles to next waypoint, which is then where we're going to start the approach. And I don't know that I'm even going to get that far, but we'll see. What I'm hoping is I won't have a disaster and I won't have paused and then not be able to finish, because that would be disappointing. But I don't want to fall into the ocean. I think I'll be okay, because usually what ends up happening if Microsoft Flight Simulator has any kind of a problem, it's basically it just can't really resume your autopilot. What I will do, however, just to aid things a little bit, is I am going to stop FSLTL, the injector, running, because that way at least we don't have traffic getting put in, because the traffic will continue to move around while I'm paused and floating in space, and that I could see could cause some confusion from the simulator. So we'll eliminate that point of contention, and we'll go from there. But got about 3 or 4 more minutes, so not much more to see. So it's pretty much open water until we get back to landing at Martha's Vineyard. So, and then we'll be across the way, I think, from the arm of Massachusetts that goes down. So that again is, I think, where we're passing through the border of we got a little bit of Rhode Island that we're going along. Rhode Island's not very large. I've always talked about, like, when American Truck Simulator finally gets to this side of the country, I would imagine they're going to combine some of these states. There's some pretty tiny states over here. But in any event, let me see. What have we got? 2975. So let me adjust my my pressure there to that. That will help. Not quite yet. There we go. Alright, so that is the reading for the altimeter that we've got from the airport at Martha's Vineyard, which is Kilo Mike Victor Yankee. In case you're wondering where we're headed, it's listed as Vineyard Haven. But 12 miles, so we're basically halfway down this leg, and not quite to the point. The big intriguing point now is we're going to be in international waters at some point, and being on a VFR flight and doing that, wow. I'm sure we're likely going to do that other times, because obviously flying around the world, we're somehow going to do all this stuff. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, the plane has decent range. Again, the tour was designed for the 930, but because of this awesome aircraft, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use this, and I've seen other people who have said they've done it with this as well. So I'm assuming it'll work, and I assume all legs are flyable. I think they have pretty much the same range. The 930, I think, goes a little longer, so it's possible I may have to cheat on one leg and fly something else, and probably will be the 930, just to stay a little bit true to things. But not quite there yet, but we're close. I can feel it. But right now, if we look in front of the plane, that's what international waters looks like. That's what non-international waters look like. Can you tell the difference? Maybe that's part of the problem in the world, right? So anyway, we'll be flying along there for a bit. Got 6.5 nautical miles. Seems like we got way longer than that, but I assume GPS knows what it's doing. And then we'll be back out of international waters and back into the United States. But for now, I'm going to take a break. I'm just actually including that here in case somehow something blows up, and then the next part of the video you have is, I didn't make it or something. I don't know. Obviously, I'd have to refly it if I didn't make. Well, I guess I don't have to. I'm not doing a tour, and it's not being tracked. But I would certainly like to land at Martha's Vineyard. So let's just hope everything goes well. But I'm going to pause at this point, and hopefully we just cut back in and you don't really know, other than I tell you that it happened. All right. Good news is it appears that the pause worked. We're here at, or getting to the point where we're at the waypoint. I don't know, we're a little early maybe, but I don't know, it's not quite meeting the Navigraph, but now it's saying 13.2 miles, so I'm guessing that means we're past where we need to be, and we're starting to line up. So it looked like it was the same heading, but clearly it was not, because it's turning a bit. I'm trying to figure out if there's an island out there, because I don't know that I'm seeing one on the chart, but so I think that's where we're headed. I think that's Martha's Vineyard, but because yeah, I think this is a line of islands that come off of the little arm of Massachusetts. So maybe that's the one island that's to the west of Martha's Vineyard. Looks like it says Aquana or something. They got some weird names. They've got like Squibnocket or something down there too. Interesting stuff. I'm glad that the town, the place we're headed is named Martha's Vineyard, because I don't know that I could name the others. But so yeah, but once we make the turn, we're heading now toward a waypoint called Horax, and then we're going to basically turn onto the 060 heading. Now, the flight timer I see is now off, because clearly it was like 1:41, and then literally it's jumped about an hour. So, you know, while you are paused, that's always the challenge, is that the sim's running in the background. So if you have a lot going on, that's why things get a little messed up. So good news is I'm hoping it didn't burn fuel, and if it did, I guess it didn't burn enough that we won't make it. So we should be okay. But yeah, this just doesn't seem right, but maybe that is that island. It's the right shape. I'm just having a hard time wrapping around my head that that's what I'm looking at, but I think that is what I'm looking at, so we'll go with that. But yeah, 3.5 miles, and then we'd come in basically down this coast is where we're going, kind of heading in that way, and then we've got the airport to land at right there. But once we do that, I think that's when I need to start to configure myself for descent and start heading in. But hopefully I'll be able to see the runway and the airport, and it'll be a little cleaner. But yeah, I guess that has to be that one island, although it's closer to the island than that. I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at. Because yeah, that island that I'm looking at should be like 5-6 miles or 10 miles away, and I don't think that's 10 miles away from me. So I think the aqua whatever is this. That makes more sense. And then there's some water in between. So whatever that is doesn't appear on the map. All right, so I see the runway. So I am going to start to configure down. Let's see. We're going to go down here, and we're going to engage. And then I'm going to press this. Whoops. I'm going to arm this. Whoop, whoop, whoop. What am I doing here? There we go. And we're going to start heading down. And we'll get ourselves to 1,500 feet, and all will be wonderful. Alright, so I'm going to back off on the throttle. Gonna put our gear down so we don't forget. But we're also less than 10 miles away, so That's about where we should be. Okay, falling below 180. Just need to be careful, because below 180 I can start extending flaps. So I'm going to do that. That should get me, to takeoff flaps. And then we've got one more set after that. All right. I think I might need to go a little faster. Just doesn't seem like we're coming down fast enough, so we're going to increase it to 1300 and we'll go from there. But yes, very clearly that's our airport. We'll get landing monitor up so we can kind of get a good feeling about the touchdown. All right. Let's see. Can I go there and then keep going down, or is it starting to level out on me? Might be starting to level out. I think I'm just going to drop the autopilot and fly it in at this point, because otherwise I think we're going to have some challenges. All right, and I think I learned at one point that I really need to turn that yaw damper off. That makes things a little bit easier. I think I'm moving over too far here. Well, I know I'm sinking, but I've got 900 feet to go, and I've got 2 miles, so, all right. So again, we need to back off, get our last bit of flaps out, and we'll see where we can get to here.
500.
So need a little bit of throttle, which I've put back in. So yeah, we're hanging around 90, which is pretty good. I think that should work. I think that was the inner marker. Not entirely sure, but I think that's what that weird sound is. Alright, so we're gonna get off the threshold, and let's see if we can put this down gently. Alright, not bad at all. Not quite sure why it's going so fast at that point, but it is. Alright. 204 feet per minute? Is that really how I landed? Doesn't have me listed as any bounces. It seemed like I was coming down softer than that, but maybe not. Alright. Looks like we've got some GA spots over yonder. So we're going to do that. Of course, we've got lights in the middle of the taxiway, because, you know, what would it be as a Microsoft Flight Simulator airport if not that? I think it's like a big X that we're maybe not supposed to be at, but this looks like a good parking spot to me, so I'm going to do that. Now my confusion is, do I have... No, I have the throttle down. Alright. So if I cut that off... that should slow things down. We should be all set. There we go. Finally stopping. But welcome. Oh, that's just a plane drawn on the ground. Interesting. Whoops. Yeah, I haven't put my flaps in. Let me do that. But we have made it to Martha's Vineyard. So, hope you enjoyed the trip. Now, the one thing I don't think I got to share, so I probably should go share that. I don't think I covered the last part of the discussion because we were flying. So, basically, from here, it's on to our destination of Martha's Vineyard, another popular summer vacation destination. I chose this airport for nostalgia. Users of the very early versions of Flight Simulator may remember that Kilo Mike Victor Yankee was one of the very few functioning ILS approaches in the game. At the time, the island was little more than a green blob on a solid blue ocean. It's safe to say it looks a lot better in this version. So I do apologize for not kind of having that covered earlier. But my need to pause kind of messed things up. So apologize for the bad hosting I did. But you should be good now. And we'll just pop our bar off. That'll power everything down. And the plane will be ready for next time. But not the most orderly shutdown, but it works for now. But if you've enjoyed this third leg of our VFR, so the Visual Flight Rules flight around the Earth, want to see more of it? Want to, got a different way that you think I should present it? Let me know. But, again, the intent, I think, is to kind of show all the stuff, and that way people can watch it if they want and skip ahead. So, I'll continue putting in the chapter breaks around the waypoints a little bit so you can hop around if you want. Hopefully that works for most people. But if you've not dropped a like, please consider that. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, please consider that as well. And I will see you next time.